Hello and welcome to a Blaseball Statistical History, a look at the Atlantis Georges development across the expansion era. We first meet the Georges in the Season 12 late siesta, as a breach was detected and 4 teams descended to the ILB from Blaseball 2. Their team slogan is "You sink, we swim," and having missed the Season 11 election, where each team gained an arcana, they were given the Fool, along with the 3 other breach teams. They arrive with 4 championships to their name: the Undersea modification, which will allow the team to overperform for any game in which they achieve negative runs, and a fully evolved roster. Despite being at base 1, the lineup has some serious weaknesses, and there are gaps in the rotation. Having arrived mid-season, the Georges did not play any matches in Season 12, leaving them joint last in the league and last in their division. They do get 2 wills, infusing 1 player and giving another the Flippers mod. These wills make the opening of the rotation a lot stronger, but sees no other real changes. In their first season in the ILB, the Georges do not have a strong start. They come 5th in their division and joint 21st overall. The weather works against them, as Sun 2 only activates in their opponent's favour, and Black Hole swallows 4 of their wins. They also experience an allergic peanut reaction. 2 of their players fall victim to flooding and are swept elsewhere, but a solid set of parties offers hope. In the election, they infuse their weakest batter, make a lineup change, and alternate another player. The election and the parties see the team looking stronger than before. However, this does not translate into good performance in Season 14, as the Georges come bottom of both division and league. The weather is against them again, with Black Hole swallowing 3 wins. They lose their Wyatt Mason to Static, and 3 other players spend time elsewhere. But coming last does mean more parties, and also a bonus will, as in the election, the team infuse a batter, make another lineup change, and steal a strong player from the Lovers. However, this player does end up in their shadows. There are obvious star improvements from last season, but the rotation still tails off in power. And Season 15 still sees the Georges at the bottom. They face new threats in the form of 2 consumer attacks, but their old threats in the weather are still present, losing a win to Black Hole, and also seeing a blood rain drain. Their rotation gets reverbed, and they also collect another solid stack of party time boosts. With 3 more wills, the Georges move their strong steel from last season into their rotation, swap a player from rotation to lineup, and make another trade with the Lovers. They also receive their first blessing, rearranging their lineup. The reverbed rotation is shorter, and their strongest pitcher is currently elsewhere, but the lineup now has a lot more consistency and power. The team finally start to see some improvement, finishing 3rd in their division and moving up to joint 15th in the league. They still only see Sun 2 activate in their opponent's favour, but there is no Black Hole for them this season. The whole team is reverbed, but their strongest pitcher returns from elsewhere, and they receive a few more parties. In the election, the Georges undo some of the reverb, repeating a move from rotation to lineup from last season, but they also make a trade with the Fridays. The Georges' new 3-player rotation opens weak, but then packs a serious punch, whilst the longer lineup is full of strength. Season 17 sees more improvement, as the Georges gain another place in the league. And Sun 2 comes out, granting them a win. However, a solar eclipse inflicts the team's first incineration. Blood rain makes a loss, and an allergic peanut reaction adds to the pain. 1 player spends a 1/3 of the season elsewhere, but there are more parties to enjoy. In the election, they choose to shorten their lineup and make a player trade with the Crabs, but the Lovers reclaim their star pitcher and the Crabs want to make a different trade. But a blessing sees the active roster gain jerseys. The Lovers were kind in sending a good pitcher back to the Georges, and the rotation remains strong. The lineup was at risk, but their weakest batter is shelled, leaving only strong players. There is a continued improvement as the Georges move up to second in their division and 13th in the league. There is only positive weather to report, and they gain a win from Sun 2 and steal one using Black Hole. There's also a positive blood rain, and birds peck free their shelled batter. One player spends a bit of time elsewhere, and the team face 7 consumer attacks, but then have 8 parties to counter that. The Georges receive 3 gifts, becoming fireproof, gaining an item, and a Nagomi McDaniel replica. The election sees them move their weakest batter to their rotation, and alternate another player who gains the negative mod. They also win a blessing, making an alteration to their ballpark. The alternating process has created a noticeable gap in the lineup, but the rotation is stronger across the board. Following the introduction of turntables, the Georges have slipped back down the rankings, when being good is bad. They sit joint 5th in their division and joint 18th overall. In the Earl Siesta, they are part of the league-wide seasonal reading, and Slosh Truck gains the uncertain mod. Weather once again coming out positive for the team. They make a feedback swap with the Spies, gaining Sosa Hayes. Flattery McKinley is shelled and pecked free by birds in the same season, and there are 2 more parties. But the Georges make the most of that through their gifts, becoming late to the party and life of the party. In the election, they infuse a Shadows player and make a trade with the stakes. Heading into the next season, the lineup remains mostly the same, but the rotation is weaker after the trade. In Season 20, the Georges take a blow, when being bad is bad again. They finish 5th in division and 20th in the league. This qualifies them for the inaugural Under-Championship, where they make it to the semi-finals before being knocked out by the Wild Wings. The weather works out net neutral for wins, but does have 2 positive blood rains. A few players make trips elsewhere, but Jan Canberra makes a permanent trip to the lift, who send back Gooby Bulson. The team also sees another incineration, as Nick Nyong'o is replaced by Clove Jiun. The introduction of fax machines sees Gooby Bulson swapping in and out of the rotation. The team once again sees a decent number of parties. The Georges get 4 gifts this season, as the team become early to the party, Slosh Truck becomes ambitious, and Flattery McKinley gains 2 new items. Their wills see a player swap with the Tokyo Lift, and an inter-team swap. They are the victims of a crime too, as the Breath Mints steal an item from Frankie Hambone. But 2 blessings look to offset that, as the Georges become light-handed, giving all items held by the team a negative E density, and alternates are called for some of their shadowed players. Following the incineration, the Georges lineup opens weak, but the rest of the team still looks powerful. But not powerful enough to move them back up the rankings, as they drop to 22nd overall, once again qualifying for the underbracket, where they are knocked out in the division series by the Lift. The team sees 10 trips to elsewhere, and Gooby continues to be faxed in and out of the shadows. An allergic peanut reaction and a whole team reverb spell trouble, as do negative weathers. But Sun 30 gives the team 7 additional wins, and there are 11 parties to enjoy. The Georges gained 3 gifts in the late siesta, including Chorby's Soul, a very heavy item. But due to the blessing they won last season, this now has negative E density, sending the Georges shooting to the top of the depth chart, where they discover Blaseball 0 and the 8-blood Blagonball. In the election, the Georges shorten their lineup, make a trade with the Tacos, and steal another Chorby's soul from the flowers. The Georges enter season 22 with two obvious weaknesses, one in the lineup and one in the rotation, and a couple of their players remain elsewhere. But these weaknesses do not hold the Georges back, as they sit comfortably at the top of their division and joint third overall. They qualify for their first over-bracket postseason, but they repeat their under-bracket performance, being knocked out in the division series by the Lift. The team gained 3 wins from Sun 2, but don't do so well with Black Hole. Another 5 wins come from Sun 30, and Blood Rain is once again positive. We see Fish Summer faxed out of the rotation, only to reappear in the lineup. Elsewhere continues to be a popular destination, but only 4 parties. The Georges also see 2 of their players take an interest in the 5th base, which was dropped in their ballpark on day 95 of last season. Both players put it back in the bubble, having picked it up. However, Sosa Hayes super roamed to the Dalle before returning it, and Flattery can't quite leave it alone, picking it up and replacing it twice in the same game. The introduction of the Phantom Thieves Guild also sees the team lose a Shadows player to the Wild Wings. Receiving 3 gifts, the Georges opted for replicas all round, gaining Goodwin Morin, new Megan Ito, and Coat Loveless. Voting for the will before the player super roamed, the Georges claim Sosa Hayes back from the Dalle, and steal more items. Both the Moist Talkers and Tigers want to trade players. It's a busy Blessings season too, as the Georges flip their most E-dense player, but lose a Shadows player to the Garages, and see one player become a subtractor and one skipping at the hands of the Fridays and Worms, respectively. The fax machine and voicemail have improved the team, and the election swaps haven't damaged it. However, the Georges can't take advantage of this, slipping back down the rankings to finish 5th in their division and joint 21st in the league. This puts them back in the under bracket, where they get all the way to the final before the Magic lose harder to become champions. The weather is a net positive, as they end the season with 8 extra wins. Fax Machine is working overtime, changing up the rotation, and Voicemail retrieves Neary McLeod from the Shadows, where they have been since season 13, remaining elsewhere the entire time. Elsewhere is less popular with other players this season, but parties are back in style. The team see 2 feedbacks, swapping Sosa Hayes to the Spies for Siobhan Chark, who they promptly send to the Tigers for Hiroto Wilcox. The Thieves Guild takes 2 more Shadow players from them, but they gain 1 in return. 3 more gifts see the Georges be early to the party, and gain 2 items. They opt for the Roamless party favour, and join the rest of the league in being under review. They do win a blessing, beginning next season in an after-party. They also benefit from the Lift's blessing, a divisional hitting boost, but they lose a Shadows player to the Tacos. Entering the final season of the era, the Georges have a strong lineup, and a rotation that opens weak but has some huge star power further through. Despite the chaos, the Georges fare well in the season, finishing 6th of the 24 ILB teams, and 4th in their new division of the Vault. This is helped by 6 additional wins from Sun 30. Voicemail makes a few lineup changes, but the team also have to deal with players heading elsewhere. They face 4 consumer attacks and 2 negative blood rains, as well as an observation, which thankfully amounts to nothing. But they do benefit from 3 parties. During season 24, with the help of their friends, the Georges move from the middle of the map directly up and over to the Vault, where they finish the season. In the expansion era, the team faced 2 incinerations, 4 feedbacks, and 4 reverbs, which is the most out of Wild High, as well as 96 parties, also the highest in the division. 3 allergic peanut reactions, but net neutral blood rain with 4 each way. Black Hole stole more than it gave the team, but Sun 2 was equal. 1 player was shelled and also released by birds, and 1 was observed, but there was no instability or redactions for the Georges. There were no night shifts, but voicemail made 5 lineup changes and fax machine 12 to the rotation. They gained 1 Shadows player from the guild, but lost 3. They had 29 players visit elsewhere, and had the longest player absence in the division of 179 days, but they also had Neary MacLeod, who spent 10 seasons elsewhere due to being shadowed. They gained 26 wins from Sun 30 and faced 13 consumer attacks. Their Arcana only appeared in a reading once. They used 26 wills and won 7 blessings, as well as receiving 18 gifts, the most in Wild High. They played in 1 postseason and 3 underbrackets, but won neither. At the end of the expansion era, the Georges have made a huge improvement from their debut. A shorter lineup and rotation allow for more playtime for their best players, but even their weakest player is still good. Thank you for joining me for another Blaxplanation. I'll be back with more Blaseball fun and facts soon, but until then, rejoice, play ball.